There are some stories that don't just make you sad, they make you stop and reflect. And this is one of those stories. Today we're talking about Jayla Brown, who's 23, and Keylan Foreman, just 21 years old, a young on again, off again couple whose relationship ended in irreversible tragedy. And while this case has legal consequences, it also raises deeper psychology questions about toxic attachments, emotional regulation, and what happens when people refuse to let go. Because sometimes the most dangerous words in a relationship are, we keep breaking up and getting back together. On the day of the incident, the two were involved in an altercation in a parking lot at 8800 Lockwood Drive in Houston, Texas. Jayla told the authorities that Keylan struck her in the face and she acted in self-defense. However, later evidence, including camera footage and her own confession, contradicted that claim. Keylan, who was reported on crutches at the time, was seriously injured after being stabbed multiple times with a screwdriver. That detail matters. A screwdriver is not something people instinctively reach for in a moment of fear, which raises a difficult but necessary question. Was this impulsive, or was rage already waiting for an outlet? Psychologists often talk about emotional flooding, and that is a state where someone becomes so overwhelmed by anger, fear, or abandonment that rational thinking shuts down. But emotional flooding does not erase accountability. It explains how something happens, not why it's justified. And what's troubling here is the escalation. Jayla claims she attempted to take Keylan to the hospital, but she ran out of gas about 5 minutes away from the scene. Authorities later found Keylan in the backseat of her truck, and at that point, the damage had already been done. Keylan was rushed to the hospital where the doctors had to place a tube in his head. His left side became paralyzed, and for the family, the waiting was unbearable. Not knowing if he would recover, not knowing if they would ever hear his voice again. But then, something changed. According to Keylan's family, he began slowly improving. He started communicating. His aunt described it as a breath of fresh air because it felt like he was coming back. So hope had returned for them. And psychologically, hope can be both beautiful and cruel, okay? It lifts you up just enough before the fall hurts even more. While in rehab, Keylan reportedly said that his head was hurting shortly after he suffered a seizure. 3 weeks after the incident on December 27, Keylan Foreman passed away. He never made it home. His brother Ashton summed up the family's grief with words that carry permanent weight. Long live my brother. Keylan's family described him as the life of the party, someone whose presence filled a room, and that's often how these stories go. The light is taken first. And now there's another reality that can't be ignored. Jayla Brown didn't just take a life, she altered her own forever. At 23 years old, she now faces the very real possibility of spending a significant portion of her life behind bars. Whatever dream she once had, whatever future she imagined, is now overshadowed by courtrooms, legal consequences, and a permanent record tied to this tragedy. Psychologically, this is what experts call a moment of irreversible consequence, when a single decision made in rage or emotion overwhelms, reshapes an entire lifetime. There's no reset button for things like this. Even if anger felt justified in that moment, even if your emotions felt uncontrollable, the legal system does not judge feelings, it judges your actions. And prison doesn't punish time, it strips your freedom. Jayla will have to live every day knowing one choice she did ended Keylan's life, and it ended the life she once had too. This is why emotional regulation matters. This is why toxic relationships are not harmless. They are volatile. 2 young people's lives were destroyed that day. One lost forever. One now defined by what she can never undo. Okay? And for someone watching this who feels trapped in an on-again, off-again relationship filled with rage, you got control and jealousy going on, hear this clearly. Love should never put you in a position where prison becomes a possibility. When it's over, it's over.